Welcome back to Jed Talks Live, the show where I sit down with creators, thinkers, and storytellers to dig into the work they're most passionate about. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by our author, Aaron Ray Ballard, whose collection, All the Monsters Are Here, 13 Spooky Stories, brings together, you guessed it, 13 chilling tales perfect for the spooky season. From unsettling creatures to eerie twists, this book is packed with the kind of horror that lingers long after you put it down. We'll be talking about what makes a great monster, the art of writing short horror, and maybe even which one of his creatures, his creations, he'd least like to meet in the real world. So, grab your flashlight, check under the bed, and let's jump in. What's going on, man?
Not much. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here.
This is very impressive. And I don't know, everybody at home can't really see everything, but it's just very impressive in here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. This is your first time here in the studio, and today you're here talking about this book that you wrote.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your book, and where'd you get your inspiration?
My inspiration is from being a kid and watching Twilight Zone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great one.
And just becoming obsessed with that show as a kid, and I'm talking very young age. Probably shouldn't have been watching it. And then being a fan of any horror movie that came out that I wasn't allowed to go see.
True.
So I lived through my imagination, looking through the newspaper at all these ads for movies and imagining what these movies are like. And then the great thing was I had uncles that would take me to them.
These are good uncles.
Jaws at 6, movies that I should not, terrified me for the rest of my life. Halloween, going to see it in the Ector Theater in the balcony with a bunch of people that were smoking pot and handing me the joint, and I'm just passing it to people because, And so I watched all these movies that I shouldn't have done. And then there was a neighbor of ours that read Stephen King, and I'd never heard of Stephen King. And that showed there was a series for Salem's Lot that came out, and I was like, "Oh, it's got vampires." And that neighbor lady said, "Hey," and it was a mother of a friend of mine. And she goes, "You never heard of Stephen King?" I read Salem's Lot at like 9 or 8. Way too young.
Way too young.
So I wanted to tell stories just from all of that. And other things that I saw on TV, because during the 70s, there were a lot of great horror things on television, like Night Stalker, Dark Night of the Scarecrow, Trilogy of Terror, the little African doll that comes to life, and stuff like that.
I do remember that one.
So between Twilight Zone, Stephen King, and all that stuff going on, I wanted to be a writer because I didn't understand movies or anything. I didn't know how those were made, but I knew that there were people that wrote, and so any slip paper I could find, I'd write stories. Flash forward all these years later, all the stuff that I've ever written, I've been writing my entire life. I've just been shelving, and no one's ever seen it. And then when COVID hit, I decided to write a book, but I didn't know what I was going to write. And I realized I had all these short stories. So I took the best ones and I wrote some new ones, and that's this book. And of stuff that I've written for the past 30-something years,
Right. I mean, so I hear that a lot about people actually, pursuing their passion during COVID because, we were all there. That's, I think, close to about the time that I started doing my first podcast. So, and that makes sense. Man, you brought back a memory of people smoking in the movie theaters. What a time! What a time to be alive.
Yeah, we were sitting up there, and I remember that like it was yesterday, because as a kid, going to be able to see an R-rated film was exciting enough. Then you go and there's a bunch of adults sitting around and smoking dope, which I grew up with. I didn't ever smoke myself, but I grew up around it.
You've never quit.
And everybody's just chill back then. They were just chill, and they're watching this movie, this great movie, Halloween. And like, what a way to watch that movie the first time. And so I remember that day like it was yesterday. But yeah, and began my love affair with horror movies ever since.
How did you land on the title, All the Monsters Are Here?
I don't know where this other ones comes from. All the Devils Are Here. I've read that before. I don't know where that's from. But whenever you look up famous quotes and this and that, I just happen to come across All the Devils Are Here. And I don't know where that's from. And I don't even know if it was one of the quotes that I saw. And that's one of the original titles for my book. I thought, oh, that's clever. I wrote it down. But then I wait, they already took devils. monsters. Thank God for thesaurus. So, bam, that became all the monsters are here because it was either that or the big ass book of scares.
I think you could have A/B tested that one. Big ass book of scares. That could be your sequel.
Yeah,
big ass book of scares.
I've actually thought about that.
Yeah, man, that's a great. It's a great title. Yeah. Some books are written just from the title, so that totally makes sense. So how do you approach writing short horror compared to, I don't know, like a longer form or story or novel?
Very, very clearly patience.
Yeah,
because
true.
You're talking to the guy that in high school wrote 2.5 novels.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they're awful.
You're your own worst critic.
They are awful. And there are parts that maybe are okay, but I thought I was writing the great American novels, but they were not. And when that disappointment hit that I'm not a great American novelist, I stopped writing for the longest time. And we're talking into my 20s, I didn't write. And then somewhere around 27, 20 years old, I started writing again. Then gave up again in my mid-30s and didn't write again until mid-40s. So I really wish I could go back in time and kind of kick myself in the butt to write more and put out a book earlier, put out a book way earlier. But nowadays, and I'm saying this being kind, anybody can write a book. Anybody can make a movie. The question is, should everybody be able to write a book or be able to make a movie? But you can. Whereas 20 years ago, and I would say because of Blair Witch Project,
sure,
that's the movie that kind of made it possible for others, for anyone who wants to make a movie that had a movie in mind or whatever. That's the movie that made it possible. The technology was there.
The people weren't cameramen.
Right.
Or women.
Yeah, the technology had not been there, but then the technology was just getting there. And that movie made it possible for most people to go, I can make a movie too.
Yeah. I can do it.
And it's the same thing with writing a book. 20, 25 years ago, you had to get published. Someone had to buy it, And then they had places where you can get yourself published, but it was like there's a stigma.
Sure.
Nowadays, there's really no stigma.
Right.
You publish a book, you publish a book.
Right. Same thing with the movie. If you shoot it on your iPhone, you can publish it on YouTube. There is no stigma about it.
Right.
That's how people get known nowadays.
Like, it's weird how the industry works. 15 years ago, if you were a TV actor, you could only be a TV actor. Right.
And now TV's where huge budgets are, and budgets bigger than what movies have. And
now movies are, they don't even go to theaters, they stream.
Right. They release at home on the same day that they are in theaters on some of them.
So there's no, direct-to video.
Yeah.
It's used to be an insult.
Right.
Now sometimes they shoot for that and it's good. It's accepted.
Right. And that's also, it also lends itself to becoming a cult classic because of those kinds of things. Yeah. That's great. Word of mouth is always great. So do you think short stories are especially powerful for horror since you can deliver a scare quickly?
Yeah. For less patient people like myself, writing short stories is probably the way to go. And then you develop the muscle and the patience and then maybe move on to a novel. I think it's a good start, just like making a short film.
Right, exactly.
Instead of going out and making a feature, make a short film or a trailer.
Learn everything you can and learn from your mistakes and all that in a short form. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's kind of the way I see short stories. Although there are masters of people that write short stories that are just masters and brilliant at it. It is an art form. It is.
Absolutely.
But for me, it was just, for my patience level, writing short stories is a good exercise and strengthen that writing muscle. And I'm working my way up to write a novel, a good one, hopefully, not like crap like I wrote when I was 17. But
as long as you have that in mind, I'm going to write a good one, not a crap one.
Because you have all the great intentions in the world, and that's the other thing about short stories is you could write a short story thing, and it's the greatest short story you've ever read, and you read it back and go, "Oh my God, this is crap!" But you didn't waste so much time on it. And sometimes with short stories, you write the ones that you're not even thinking about. You write and you finish it, and it's like awesome. So my answer is short stories are for people like me. For me, writing short stories, it's a way to build muscle, the writing muscle, and develop patience with my goal toward writing a novel. Other people, seriously, when they write short stories, it's really an art form. And I don't want to say that what I write is an art form.
It's art, people. This is the Picasso of short horror.
Yeah. But with some people, it might be that. With me, I'm going to be honest with myself and just say it's an exercise to get better.
But you also have some experience with the form. One, from being a fan, and two, you were the assistant director on a horror movie that was shot here in West Texas. Circus of the Dead. That's the name of the movie.
Had some really wonderful actors in that. some local.
I'm brushing my hair for those who are not watching but just listening on the podcast.
Yeah, there was a guy named Jed Dusler that was in our film. He's okay.
I was, thank you.
He's
Thank
okay,
you.
But we had people like that, and Bill Oberst, big.
Oh yeah.
Major actor, and Jed went up against him and did really well.
Thank you. And Bill is a horror legend.
Yes.
He
King of Independence.
Absolutely.
King of independent horror.
Absolutely.
And he should be way more well known.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tremendous
He's very
actor.
talented.
But we also had some other actors that came in from Hollywood that were in our film, but mainly it was local talent. And the person that directed it was Billy Pond, who a lot of people know locally as Bloody Bill, who runs the DEF CON Haunted Warehouse and the Circus of the Dead haunted maze. And that's where Circus of the Dead was kind of born. Well, not, it was born. And he made a short film. He started out with a short film, or actually started out with a trailer. Then he moved on to a short film called Dollboy, and then he decided to make a feature, Circus of the Dead. And I met Billy right after he did Dollboy, which Jed was kind of the star of.
Hello. I was the asshole.
Yes, he was the guy with the watch in the movie. If you've ever seen it, that was his goal and obsession in that film.
That's right.
And basically going up against a gang of clowns inside a maze as they're being hunted down one by one, and then his character Brandon led into Circus of the Dead, where you were still being held hostage by the clowns.
Right.
And then they find another victim to terrorize, and if no one's ever seen the movie, just know that it doesn't end well.
That's right. It's not a Disney ending, if that's what you're going into. Yeah. But if that's what you're going into for a horror movie, you're in the wrong one. Yeah. Unless you're watching the Alien TV series where they put a whole bunch of Disney stuff in there for some odd reason. I don't understand it. But my point was that you were writing from experience, in the sense that you've assistant directed a horror movie. Don't you participate in the maze as well?
I did for a period of time.
Right. So I mean, once again, and that's living it. That's acting 101 right there, or improv 101.
I was one of the guys that led you in.
Yeah.
I worked with Dom.
Yep. Dominic Lopez, who was on our show last week.
And he was a mad scientist, and I was his assistant, and we would lead people to be murdered inside the maze.
Look at you moving on up.
Murdered. But that was a lot of fun, and I did that for like 5 or 6 years. And then it's a young man's game. If you've ever worked in a haunt or never worked in a haunt, it's a young man's game. So if you're 30, 40 years old, maybe it's not for you, but if you're in your 20s, man,
go for it.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
But when you're 30s and 40s, it might get you might move up to supervisor, or you're not screaming at people all night long.
Or you graduate to writing.
Or you graduate to making movies.
That's right. Making movies, writing books.
Yeah.
So what makes a good monster in your eyes?
In my opinion, a monster can't just be evil. There has to be shades of goodness too. The perfect monster, if you're not talking about like a Dracula or something, they're totally evil. Most of your monsters, the monsters I like, they're flawed. They're not evil. They think they're doing good, but that might be warped, and they end up doing bad, and that's more interesting to me. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like monsters that are totally evil. I like vampires. Like I wrote some stories I have in here of evil monsters, but I like the flawed characters there's some humanity to them, and maybe they're forced to do bad things. It's more interesting to me. So I have a story in here about a zombie who's not the bad guy. He's being hunted by humans, so they're the bad guys.
Okay, just turn it around. Yeah.
It's called Night of the Living.
I like it. Yeah, that's a cool concept.
He's being chased, and you're rooting. Hopefully, you're rooting for him.
You're rooting for the zombie.
Even though he eats people.
Does he eat people out of necessity, or does he actually target people? You don't have to say.
No. He eats because he has to eat.
Right.
It's like a shark. If they're there, he's going to do it. But whether they're good or not, it just so happens in this story they're maybe not so good. But I like those kind of monsters, and then I have monsters that are just plain evil. And a lot of the monsters in my book are totally human. Some of the stories in here are humans doing horrible things, because as we all know, humans do horrible things. We hear about it every day. But in the topic of this book, there's some kind of supernatural thing going on as well. So there are human monsters, and there are flawed monsters that want to do good, and they're just evil.
Just evil.
And I like writing all of it. But
well, that does keep it interesting.
Because to me, one of my favorite monsters, I love Dracula. Totally evil.
Right.
There's nothing redeeming about Dracula. He's not romantic. I know Bela Lugosi made him romantic. But they're not. They're evil. They're parasites, and they live on the but my favorite is Frankenstein's monster or the Wolfman, because they're human and they're flawed and they feel bad for what they're doing. Or like Frankenstein's case, he scares everybody he comes across. He doesn't want to scare anybody. He's lonely. He doesn't want to be lonely.
Right.
So
he gets a bad rap.
Yeah. So they're monsters, but they're not. And sometimes in those movies, the humans are worse than the monster. That's
true. And specifically in the case of Frankenstein.
Right.
Yeah.
That's more interesting to me.
Yeah. No, I get it. It adds a whole different dimension, and it makes you think things that make you go, We're not going to play that song because we don't have the rights, but it's a great song. If you don't know it, just go look
imagine it. Hum along.
Yeah. Why do you think we love being scared?
Well, scared is in like going to a haunted attraction, or scared is in going to a scary movie, or scared like going on a roller coaster, because it's most of the time it's safe.
Controlled environment.
Controlled environment. You're safe most of the time.
Yeah.
Not always in this world, but most of the time, 99.9% of the time, you're safe.
Right. That's the only reason I'm basically able to ride a roller coaster, is because I feel safe. There's always the slight possibility that something could go wrong, but I don't live my life that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm there for I'm buckled in, I'm safe, I'm good.
Yeah. It's like the odds of being hit by lightning during a rainstorm. Okay.
They're there.
It's there, but not really going to worry about it.
Right. It's not the way to live.
So it's a safe scare. It's a safe, controlled scare, rather than being terrified in real life, which I never want to experience ever again, because that's happened.
Yeah.
If you've ever been robbed and had a gun in your face,
my God.
I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but I quickly realized I'm not one of those heroes who, oh yeah, what are you going to do with a gun in my face? No, my knees buckled.
No, I believe it, man. No judgment here.
Started shaking uncontrollably. Like I couldn't even pick up the phone to call the police after the guy left.
Yeah.
Like I tried to pick up the phone and my hands were shaking so bad
that
I couldn't even.
You have no control over it.
I was terrified. Yeah. And then I had, what do you call that when you can't go back? Like I tried to go back to work. They let me off work for a couple of days. I came back and it was a video store in a bad part of Dallas. And I came back to go to work and I couldn't walk behind the counter.
Oh, it's just paralyzed you.
It paralyzed me. I was okay all the way to work, into the store, up to where you got to open the little door to get behind the counter.
Right.
And I couldn't walk back there.
Oh, man.
And I just went, and my assistant manager was like, what's going on? And I go, I can't go back there.
Frozen.
I can't go back there. And so I ended up going, I can't work here anymore. And I just left. It was that terrifying.
No, I can absolutely.
When you find out you're a coward, it's humbling.
I'm not. I do not think that makes you a coward. I think it makes you human, because the idea that anybody is going to be the tough man. Oh yeah, buddy. Saga 1, 2. Yeah,
I dare you.
That is total Hollywood, man.
Yeah,
it's just up there with the amount of people who wouldn't ride a roller coaster because they know, there isn't none of that safety net.
Right.
When something like that happens to you for real. So
unless you ride a roller coaster like I saw in a video that went low to the ground. It's in a forest. And as they went low, there were a family of bears. And that thing was moving like 2 miles per hour as this family of bears were like literally 5 feet away. And this roller coaster cart was just going click, 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 click. And I'm like, they could have died.
Yeah.
So I don't want to ride that one. Screw that. Get disemboweled by a family of bears
on the slowest roller
coaster ever. Because for whatever reason, it came down low to the ground, like all the way to the ground, like a train track. And there were a family of bears just right there. And bears can run pretty damn fast when they're motivated. So I was watching that video going, holy crap, that's terrifying.
It didn't, it didn't help that they were, covered the all of the people in honey either. You know what I'm saying? It's just
exactly. It's like, what are you doing? No, you'll find out later.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah, now it makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, that terrified. I watched that. I go, I don't think I'll ever go on a roller coaster again.
Yeah, I don't want to go on that ride.
Jesus, I don't even know where it was, but yeah, it was awful. Oh, God. The only thing I think is worse is being in one of those tubes underground. I watched this one water slide. They went under the ground and there were sharks swimming around, and you're going through a tube, kind of like a slide.
Yeah,
and you're just going through a tube, and there's sharks.
I'm assuming it's a glass tube.
Yeah, and I'm like, did they who built this? I want to know who built it. Like, were they good employees? Were they? Because engineers, you go to school and you make an A and you're an engineer, but you could also make a C and pass and still be an engineer. Right. So how do I know I don't get the C engineer making this water tube that I'm flowing through with a great white 2 feet away? So I saw that. I'm like, I need to stop TikTok. I need to stay off TikTok because I'm just getting terrified by all this stuff.
And AI does not help. The only way I can sometimes tell that something is AI is based off of the reactions of other people in the video. I mean, my bullshit detector is pretty good. I try to keep it fairly well tuned. But sometimes you're just like, oh my God. And then nobody else is reacting. You're like, oh, motherfucker, it's fake. Okay, thank God.
Or they have 6 fingers.
They've gotten much better at that, though.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I could talk all day about AI, but yeah.
I'm sure you could. That's one to include in your scary story. Do you have a scary story about AI?
It's a good idea. I might have to think on that.
Yeah. I watched that show, and I haven't watched the newest season whenever it came out. Black Mirror.
Oh yeah.
They've got a lot of AI kind of related ones because most of them are future based. But yeah, that can definitely be its own monster.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I love the way they use technology in that show to tell these stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to Twilight Zone for me. I love Black Mirror, and it's one of the best anthologies that I've seen in a long time. And what I hate about that show is I had an idea for a story that I was going to write, and somebody went, "Oh, that was on Black Mirror," and I go, "What are you talking about?" Because I'd never seen the show at that point in time. And they go, "You need to watch that show." And I watched that show, and that episode had what I wanted to do.
Oh man!
And I went, "Damn it!" And it was the robot dog.
Oh, yeah.
And I go, it would be so... I thought I was going to write a story about somebody at the border trying to cross the border because I read a newspaper. I get a lot of my ideas from newspapers, but they have robot dogs on the border now.
For real they do?
That's what I read.
Oh, okay. That's insane.
That either they were developing it or they had it or they were testing it or something.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. And I had a story in mind that one of these robot dogs, something goes wrong, chopping mall, Terminator, and this thing just tries to kill all these people. And then Black Mirror did it first. And then there's quite a number of other shows that it's one of those where I watch it and go, man, I wish I had that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a very clever show. Black Mirror is a great show.
Even if the story had already been done on Black Mirror, once again, it's a cool concept, and it's one that's not necessarily going away. They've been writing about robots for 60, 70 years now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the same difference. Keep your story. If you still got a story, use it.
Well, I think the good idea would be for AI would be somebody orders a robot girlfriend.
There's 2 movies out there like that right now. But once again, that should tell you something. There's 2 movies,
right?
So it's 2 different, and they were released pretty close to one another.
Yeah.
But yes, that would be an interesting one.
or just there have been movies based on people letting AI into their home and it controls everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of stuff that can be written on that. I know there's been other stuff, but there's stories that can also other stories can be written.
There's one with John Cho.
Oh yeah.
That just did one of the. I've got it in my queue right now. I'm ready to watch it. I'm going to pause this and just go watch it right now. Just kidding.
Wow, what a great show! That was a great episode.
Wasn't that so good? Oh man, we're back.
Man. Gee, who thought AI could do that? John Cho. Jeez.
He just smoked out the AI. I mean, I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah,
he went total
happy ending.
Harold and Kumar on it. So
yes.
Okay, so how do you balance classic horror tropes with fresh ideas? I mean, we were kind of just talking about that, but do you have any kind of way that you try to do that? Because you say you're a fan of the older series of things like, I mean, that's probably the perfect example. The older ideas are Twilight Zone, and the modern version of it is Black Mirror. So how do you use that same kind of balancing act in your stories?
Well, in my book, I went back to the basics, and so I write about zombies, I write about vampires, I write about werewolves, I write about ghosts, and again, a lot of the humans in my stories are the monsters as well. But that totally goes back to when I was a kid, and not being able to see the Universal Monster movies because we didn't have VCRs back when I was a kid. That's how old I am.
You're so old.
Pretty much. So when VCRs came out in the 80s, I was finally able to watch those Universal Monster movies that I knew everything about before I ever saw them because I read every book on them. So that goes back a long way. I've always been a fan of the original monsters. I kind of think of this book as those monsters in the modern day. So
Okay.
with updated, like they live in our neighborhoods.
Right.
They don't live in castles out in the middle of nowhere. They live among us, and they hide among us.
It's like zero castles in West Texas.
Right. So in one of my books, or one of my stories, it's called A Vampire Walks Into a Bar. And it's based on when I lived in Dallas, and I'm sure maybe there's places in Odessa like this, but big cities in Dallas, when you're 20 years old, you meet people for the very first time and say, hey, let's go to this bar. And they drive you to a part of town you've never been before. And there's a building there with no signage and no lighting on the outside. And there's where do we park?
Right.
And you hear gunshots in the distance. And then there's a door that opens and you enter this world of this nightclub that is like, how in the hell does this exist?
Right.
And you walk in and there's this fantastic nightclub out of the Matrix or Blade going on,
Well, if it's one from the Blade,
yeah,
that definitely would be in your story.
And so there are places like that literally it's so quiet outside, and then you step in and there's this whole world of music and whatever. And
right.
Things going on, this whole world inside this building that on the outside looks like a tiny place. When you enter, it looks like an airport.
Right.
And so one of my stories is there's this bar. It's a supernatural bar. And if you're a human and you step in, you don't notice anything different unless you're paying attention, because humans most of the time are only invested in themselves and don't really notice anything going on.
Tunnel vision, right.
In this story, when humans walk into this bar, all they see are people. And they're too obsessed with themselves to notice what's going on. But in fact, you're surrounded by all kinds of monsters. And they're there to hide out. They're there to be themselves. They're there just to exist and be themselves. So if you're a vampire, you could drink blood out of a shot glass. If you're a werewolf, you could smoke your cigarettes and just kind of be left alone.
Right.
If you're a ghost, you get to enjoy ectoplasm, whatever the hell you drink. Demons, And
how do you bottle ectoplasm? That's what I want to know.
So whatever they're doing, they're enjoying themselves and just want to be left alone. And if humans are there, they look human to other humans, except if you piss them off.
Well, then they let themselves be known.
Then they let themselves be known, and that's what that story is about.
Okay.
So that's based on me growing up in Dallas or living in Dallas for a period of time and going to these places that this place exists.
Right.
And me just applying my imagination to it and going, wow, what if monsters lived here?
Yeah.
A lot of these stories go back to when I was a kid. And so the first time I saw Blade, first thing I thought of was my little short story, Vampire Walks in a Bar. You walk in and there's a bar. Oh, it happens to be full of vampires. Only Blade was so much, it was like, oh, wow, this is amazing.
I like your setup better, though. Vampire walks into a bar.
Yeah, and that's based on the lamest setup for a joke.
Yeah.
Priest and a rabbi walk into a bar. Vampire walks into a bar. What happens? It gets robbed by humans. and it just happens to be demons and vampires and werewolves. And
taking my lucky pencil with me.
So that's what that story's about. But then I have your old traditional, the end of all the zombie movies, they escape to an island somewhere and the movie ends.
Right. Just like they do with the dinosaurs in the dinosaur movies.
Right. So in mine, what happened on the island?
Mm.
And so basically I have a story in there with people that are living on this island years later, the survivors.
It's not 28 years later, is it?
And that was written when I was 17. I started writing that when I was 17 years old. And it came about from a nightmare that I had about running zombies. So you got to realize this was 1986.
Before running zombies was a thing.
And when I told people I had a dream about running zombies and I'm going to write about it, I got told by my horror-loving friends, that's the lamest idea I've ever heard. There are no such things as running. Zombies can't run.
Just ahead of your time, man.
And I went, oh, man. And I listened to those idiots.
Yeah, no.
And
if you're listening, guys, y'all were idiots.
So I stopped writing it, and then I picked it up in COVID because I still kept everything I ever wrote.
Oh, yeah. And
I went, that's actually a pretty good idea. And I wanted to go back in time and punch those people.
Yep.
But it had running zombies in it. And so, what's my angle? Oh, they're on the deserted island that they escaped to at the end of the Dawn of the Dead. What happened?
Right.
And boom, that's where my story began.
I like that. Okay.
So that's just a couple of stories, ideas.
You could have been a billionaire. Just saying. I mean, I'm not trying to put you down or anything. You just without your idiot friends.
Well, I had the very opening of it was this neighborhood, the zombie uprising, this neighborhood gone to hell, and I went and saw that Dawn of the Dead remake, and be damned if I was like, oh my god. Not that they did so much better than I could have done.
I mean, sure. I mean, it's one aspect of it, but still.
But I was like,
I thought of it. Damn it, that was mine.
I did that first. Damn it. And I have some dumbass friends from back in high school that know this, that told me this, that know this.
You guys are dumbasses.
Shouldn't have listened.
Was there a story that almost made the cut, but didn't? That maybe you're saving for a sequel book or something like that? I
had too many werewolf. I wanted to keep it down a number. I didn't want to do just 3 or 4 werewolf stories. I wanted to keep it. I think I only have 2, at the most 2 of each creature. Not 3 would have been too much, but there was another werewolf story that I had. But I decided to save it for the next one.
Okay.
So I have a werewolf pops up in a story, and then his story continues in the next book. But I wanted to put that in the first one because I thought it was a better story than the one that I had in this book, but I thought I want to introduce him first.
Right.
But then I wrote that story and went, I really like that. So I'm glad I wrote it. And I'm glad I saved that one for the next one.
Yeah.
But I had another werewolf story that's based on, and right now I'm blanking on the name, but you've seen all these movies where some unfortunate guy gets picked by this rich group of people to hunt them down. You know what I'm talking about?
Say it again.
It's based on a book, but there's been several movies, including Jean-Claude Van Damme, where you got this lone guy that gets hunted by a group of rich guys.
Oh, yes. Okay. I mean, I don't know that I've seen
Hard Target.
One. Okay. That 80s, right?
Yeah. But then they're Surviving the Game, I believe it's called. But that goes back. There's
tons of them.
There's a book that came out, and I want to say the 50s, that first came up with that idea.
Right.
I just can't remember the name of it right now. It's a very popular, famous book. But it's about a guy that's on an island, and he gets hunted down by the guy that runs the island. And I think it's called Strange Game, or I wish I could remember. But basically, this guy's hitchhiking, gets picked up by a guy who spikes his drink, and when he wakes up, he realizes he's going to get hunted by this guy and his friends. What they don't know is he's a werewolf.
Dun, dun, dun.
So that's a teaser for the next one of the stories in the next book.
That's good, though. I like that idea. It's like the tables turned.
Because in this book, there's a story called Hunter, which deals with that werewolf.
Okay.
That guy.
So his origin story almost.
And then the next
maybe
one,
not his origin, but his introduction.
Yeah, Hunter. And then the next one is called Prey.
I like it. So that if you write one more after that, and then you can just have a trilogy and make that into the new werewolf movies, since they can't seem to get them right.
It's part of a much larger werewolf story that I have called Bloodlines.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the book I want to write, and that's kind of what I'm gearing up for, to write that.
Here, I'll write it for you real quick. Hold on just a second.
Put it in AI.
AI. Done.
There you go.
Done.
It's probably better than what I was going to write.
No possible way. Oh my goodness. So you've kind of told us how long it's been. So how long did it take from the very first story that you write, from the very first story that you wrote, to this finished collection? You kind of touched on it before, but
well, yeah, I started writing a lot of these stories when I was younger.
Right.
Through the years, it's just that I had them all in a box, either finished, unfinished. What I did was I went back in and rewrote from scratch, kind of, but using
your inspiration,
those as notes.
Sure.
Because the writer that, as anybody probably should know, and hopefully, as you get older, you mature.
Right.
And if you,
some of us do, some of us don't.
And if you keep writing through those years, hopefully you get better.
Right. Your voice.
So the stuff that you write when you're 7, okay, that you think is amazing, and when you're 17, what was wrong with me? Did I get
Crystal wouldn't go out with me, so I sent a vampire her way.
The stuff you write when you're 17, you're 27, you look back at your 17-year-old self and go, man, you're a dumbass. And then, so as you get older, hopefully you wisen up and you get better. And so the stuff that I wrote when I was 17, stuff I wrote when I was 27, I'll look back and just cringe. And I'm sure, hopefully, 10 years from now, I'm looking back at stuff I wrote now, and hopefully I've gotten better. But
about to say, if you hadn't written some of that stuff at 7, 17, all of that, then you might have started writing it at 27 or 37, whatever.
Right. So a lot of that stuff goes back a long way, but I had to write at least 6 new stories for this book, in addition to the other 7 that I already kind of had. And then finishing, like the one I was telling you about the deserted island with the zombies, finishing that one. Because I had the idea.
Right.
It's just that someone told me it sucked, and I didn't write it. And so I went, you know what? Screw those people. And I wrote that.
That's right. Punch those people.
And that was the first thing I wrote for this. And then I, again, rewrote a few other stories and then had to come up with new stuff, because a lot of the stuff I'd written over the years just plain sucks. That I looked at and went, could this be? No, this cannot be one of them.
Once again, you're your own worst critic there, I'm sure.
When you're 17, 27, you think a totally different way.
Sure. Absolutely. I get what you're saying. No, but I think that the fact that you wrote those things helped you.
Oh yeah.
See that. Yeah. We're always our worst critics. I look at films that I made whenever I was in high school. This was all before, everybody had phones that could record video in their pockets and everything. And for the time they were all right, but yeah, they definitely speak the age level that we were at the time.
What was funny to you then, it may kind of be funny to you now, but maybe you don't want people to know that was funny back then.
Right.
I don't want people to know that this is what I used to laugh at.
It's funny.
Same here. I made short films when I was younger, and you learn a lot.
Yes.
You learn a lot. You learn as you go.
You learn as you go. And that goes back to the just do it, because it's anybody can do these things. And if you're letting technology or the lack of doing one before stop you, you're doing yourself a disservice, because once again, just do them.
And you only learn if you do it.
Yep. And you will learn when you do it.
I directed a lot of shorts not on my own, but with family and friends and stuff. And then I met Billy, and then he made I kind of did my thing with helping him with Circus of the Dead.
Right.
Assistant director, but that just meant I got yelled at a lot on set.
Welcome to the crew.
So I got yelled at a lot. And so I learned from there, and then I wanted to make a short film. So Billy helped me make a short film. And I learned so much from my failure on that short film, because I think I failed, and I learned a lot. And so I carry that over, and recently I made a short fake trailer.
Right, for Texas Frightmare Weekend, right? Yeah.
And Texas Frightmare, Billy has a contest. He calls it the Fake Trailer Showcase. And every year at Frightmare, which happens around May, so it'll happen again next May, you can make a fake movie trailer, 2 minutes and 30 seconds or less. about any topic, and you enter it in this showcase, and it gets shown in front of a crowd. And every year the crowd gets bigger. And I swear to God, there was probably 300 to 400 people watching our fake trailer showcase
That's
this past year. Whereas the first year there was probably 5. I don't know. It's grown.
Really? Yeah, exactly.
And the quality is getting better.
And word of mouth and people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
And so I made a short because Billy kept saying, "Hey, you gonna enter? You gonna enter?" Every year he's like, "You gonna enter? You gonna enter?" And almost looking at me like, "I'm so disappointed in you." And finally I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do one. And so I got together with some friends and made a short fake trailer called Paranormal Assholes, which I thought turned out pretty well. And that's, if you look up my social media, any of my social media, you can look up my name, Aaron Ray Ballard, or All the Monsters Are Here. If you look both on social media, on any site, Facebook, Instagram,
any platform,
whatever, and you can find my short Paranormal Assholes, which got dinged. It's been online since June, beginning of June. I got flagged for it a few days ago. They flagged me for it, saying it didn't meet their whatever, it violated their thing, and they like shut down my Instagram page, and I had to fill out that little form they gave you.
Yeah.
And they went, "Oh, so you didn't violate our page." So I don't know what was going on there, but they flagged that video, and I didn't write assholes on there. I wrote
asterisk, whatever. Yeah.
So I don't know what they picked up on, but whatever, it got flagged after being online for months. But it's out there, and I think it's pretty good. I think it's a pretty funny little trailer.
I like that. And I know where you're going with the title, but I think pair of normal assholes also works.
Yeah. Well, my deal with that is I wanted to make a short film about a ghost that all he did was move people's stuff around, which explains why when you're trying to look for your car keys or a pencil or whatever,
that's hilarious.
When you turn your back, the ghost moves something, and when you turn around, it's like, wait, I just set where'd it go? And the ghost is paranormal assholes. So all they're doing is just they're being a minor inconvenience. They're not trying to scare you. You
open up your fresh ice cold Dr. Pepper and then turn back and it's halfway drunk already, and you're like, what?
Yeah, or they knock it over, or you set your phone on a counter, and next thing you know, it falls off, and you're like, wait a minute, I set it on the counter. How did it fall off?
I like it. It's
paranormal assholes.
All right, I'll have to check that one out.
But I want to get into making more shorts and stuff like that. I really want to get into that more.
I like doing comedy stuff.
Yes.
I'm a parody person.
Yeah.
Always have been. When we were making our stuff in high school, and pretty much all the time, it was always parody. We had a parody of Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
It was that's where that's the pocket I like to dance in right there.
Yeah.
I like dancing in pockets.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. I wanted to do one because my niece has a T-Rex costume, and I was wanting her to get together with a bunch of other people in those costumes and do a Jurassic Park.
This is awful. I'll tell you a short little part about that. We had a friend of ours who kind of fit the stature and the look of John Hammond, right? And he had a beard. Now we're in high school. That's awesome. Yeah, we're in high school, so not a whole bunch of us really had beards, but he had he had a good sized beard going on, and we were like, you look perfect for this part, and the only thing we need is you need to have white hair and white beard, and so we used white shoe polish to do that. And just FYI, don't ever use white shoe polish to put in your hair, because it almost was just like you could just break it off at the end of it. And we all felt so bad for that. But man, he looked spot on. I'm just going to say. Yeah,
it was worth it. Just catch it on film or VHS.
Yes.
Or digital.
Yes. No. Pre-digital days. It was on VHS-C probably. That tells you how long
ago it was. And you edited
on
that stuff. Wow, think about that.
Yeah, this is before computer editing, at least was home affordable. So we would edit everything in camera, including doing voiceovers. Wow.
So you had to rewind your clips to line it almost where you think it should be, in hopes that it's the perfect timing. That the shot before that is someone's reaction to something that doesn't go on too long, and hopefully the next shot will come in and cut that off.
Right.
Otherwise, you got a long reaction, somebody doing something
before
it cuts.
A lot of stuff shot sequentially,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah. Flipping the camera around the show as you're talking stuff. Yeah. I remember that.
Good times. Man, we have it all so much easier nowadays.
Thank you, George Lucas, for digital editing.
Right. Thank you. I was not a Mac person back then. Thank you, Mac, for coming into my life. Okay, so I've got a question. If one of your monsters could escape into the real world, which one would cause the most chaos, and which one would you actually want to meet?
I think the one that if it escaped into the real world, there's a story I have called Ghost Hunt.
Ghost Hunt?
Ghost Hunt.
Hunt. Gotcha.
And if that thing got loose, it would be pretty awful.
Be bad for everybody involved.
And again, a lot of my stories that I wrote in this have they come from much bigger stories. It's almost like
appetizers.
Yeah.
Appetizers.
Not necessarily prologues or anything like that, but just a quick introduction to those stories because they're much bigger. And so I had this one where this guy, there's a portal to hell that he inadvertently finds. And in order to save his own life, he has to sacrifice other people. So he turns his house into a haunted attraction. And it takes whoever they want.
That's great.
To save his own life.
Right.
And so when he gets shut down, and this story comes from Billy's place getting in trouble with the fire marshal and not being able to be indoors anymore.
Oh, how funny.
So when that happens, because he had a steady supply of, victims, and suddenly fire marshal comes in. It's kind of a comedy a bit in a way. Comes in and shuts him down.
A little bit of reality there.
So he has to kidnap people and throw into his haunted house so this portal can eat them. But there's this demon that comes out of this portal. If that ever got out, it would be terrible for mankind. But it's trapped in this house, connected to this portal. And that was Ghost Hunt, which basically boils down to these three guys go into that house to do a ghost hunt. And all hell breaks loose.
Okay.
But it's from a much larger story.
It sounds like you should at some point. Do you have a website?
No, I don't. I need one. But
or even on your social media, like do a poll and see what story, people have them vote on which ones they like the best or rank them in order 1 to 13, something like that. And then you're going to know when to break or what people really want you to break out, because just like you were saying, all of these are short versions of much longer stories that you already have. And so if everybody's like, I like the Monster House one, then you're just like, all right, well, that's the next one that I'll make sure that I include that one in the next one, because, people will give you their opinions.
and I've been reluctant to put my face out there on social media, depending on my books and graphics and stuff like that. That's good.
I'm blurring your face for this entire video.
But they tell me the best way to sell your book is for people to know who you are. Tell them who you are. And you talk about your book. I've been hiding behind this puppet thing that I have. I don't know if you saw that. My TikTok page, I have a character, Count Dumas, and he's a vampire puppet. And he sells my book for me. But it's him. Great. But it's him doing it because I don't want to do it.
I gotcha.
I'm too whatever. I don't want to be on camera. But they tell me you need to be on camera. And when you look on TikTok to other authors, they're all on camera.
Right.
And I need to do that.
Well, it's one thing at a time, man. I get it. I've got like 4 puppets here, by the way, including McGruff the crime dog.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that I acquired. So yeah, there could be a fun puppet version of Jed Talks Live in the future that I would totally have a good time
Interview
with.
Count Dumas.
I think it would be a lot of fun. If Hollywood adapted one of these stories, which one would you want to see on screen first?
I would have said, if you'd asked me this even a week ago, I would have said Eden. That's the one about the deserted island with the survivors from like a zombie uprising on an island that follows them to the island. I would have said that because to me, that's the most visual, because it came from a nightmare that I had.
Right.
Most visual,
fully fleshed out in your brain already.
Yeah. But I really kind of fell in love with Night of the Living, and that was the one I was telling about, the zombie. It's
a cool concept.
I really kind of, even though I don't think that could make a feature film, I think it could be a heck of an episode of anthology show. And as far as if he was going to make a feature, I'd have to go back to Eden because it's all fully fleshed out. But I would much rather do that short Night of the Living. I really fell in love with that story after I wrote it. I think you definitely answered the question there. That's if you've already fell in love with one of them, you're already going to be that much more passionate about it. Yeah, but it wouldn't be a feature. It would be a short or a part of a. They don't have anthology shows anymore. They don't,
right.
They don't ever succeed. I don't know why. And they put them on TV and they last a season and that's it. Really irritating. But I miss shows like Amazing Stories, Twilight Zone, Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt.
Mm-hmm.
I love.
God, I would love
anthologies.
To have Tales from the Crypt to come back again.
Yeah.
Such a good show. Totally. They were supposed to as well, M. Night Shyamalan was in talks to
couldn't get the rights
to bring it back, right? So
because it's owned by several different companies.
Yeah, not just HBO, where you think that would be so easy. They could totally. I mean, they've got it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big draw in the 80s was to get HBO so you could watch Tales from the Crypt. How crazy is that?
I know. And
why it's just not doing that now on HBO Max.
And they really haven't released it on
No, you can't watch it anywhere. You have to buy the old DVDs, which everybody is now hoarding and raising up the prices on.
The only way you can see it, and it's not all the episodes, is on YouTube.
Well, they had I want to say they had a box set that came out years ago that had all of them. But once again, I don't think he was even on Blu-ray. I think he was all on DVD. So, man, get on that, somebody.
Please,
somebody get on that.
Because they did it with Amazing Stories,
right?
Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah, somebody get on that. So Halloween is coming up in a couple of weeks. Do you have any Halloween traditions?
So it gets earlier and earlier. So as soon as May is over, for me, it's Halloween. Seriously.
You're like the Christmas people.
It's like, yay, it's Halloween. No, it's June, jackass. No. I want to start watching horror movies now. And then once it hits August, I'm already mid-gear. And then, you enjoy October. Well,
you also wear all the sweaters starting then, too. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yes.
Kind of ridiculous.
Wearing the sweaters in July. And
in West Texas.
No, but what I do is I try to watch all the movies that I love because I'm one of those people. I have to watch Halloween at least once before Halloween's over.
Sure.
I have to watch, I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, so I kind of watch a lot of his movies.
Escape from New York is on my digital movie poster right now.
So I have most of these movies on DVD. The ones I don't have, will be on somewhere, streaming somewhere. So what I do is I just watch as many horror movies as I possibly can, plus the new ones that are coming out in hopes to find a new one that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely do you see one that kind of joins the pack that I normally watch, but every once in a while you see one.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often, but I'm always looking out for it. I think I have to go back to Shaun of the Dead for the last one. Either that or The Conjuring.
Shaun of the Dead, one of my favorites.
Yeah, either The Conjuring may have been the last one. I'm a big fan of Scream. I grew up with all the Halloweens, even though I'm really just a fan of the first Halloween.
Right.
But I've watched all the rest. I'm not a huge fan of Friday 13th, but I've watched them all. And I'll watch them if they're on.
Right.
Nightmare on Elm Street, I really love the first one. I love the meanness of it. I don't like stand-up comedian Freddy.
I like the puns, man.
Oh, you do?
I mean, it doesn't make them great movies.
No. I totally understand it. Most people prefer that Freddy.
But it's bad. I'll always love bad jokes. It's just,
I love evil Freddy from the very first one, where he was just a dick.
Yeah.
Where stand-up comedian Freddy is okay. But I grew up with all those films, and plus you're talking about a lot of the horror films that you may have forgotten about that I end up watching because a lot of people go, hey, those horror movies from the 80s are cheesy and not well done and have lousy acting. And if you go back and look at those, maybe they're right about some of them, but the majority of them were made by filmmakers who've made a lot of movies.
Right.
With actors that really know what they're doing, with great cinematography. I mean, a lot of them are well made. Yeah,
if you go back and watch some of those old horror movies, you'll be surprised to see that person's in everything nowadays.
Yeah.
That could have been their start. Like one of their first movies.
The original Friday the 13th is kind of shoddily made, but it's the story, it's good. But then you watch Friday Part 2, they had more money.
Right.
And it's top notch. They do a really good job. with the cinematography, with the editing, even the acting's better, and they bring in Jason, and the first Nightmare on Elm Street. What I love about it was it's a little cheesy and a little clunky, but he's evil and he's mean, and that whole enter your dreams thing, that was amazing. What a great idea.
Yes, frightening.
And then the original Halloween is just such a well-made classic of a film that is the blueprint for everything that came after. It's not the first slasher, right? But it's the one that kind of brought it to your neighborhood. It brought it to before that, you had to go out to the middle of nowhere in a castle or out, wherever. You're out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, you go out camping somewhere and Last House on the Left or whatever. You have to be out in the middle of nowhere, Night of the Living Dead, like a castle with all the other old horror films. I think Black Christmas came out before Halloween, and it was at a sorority. But still, how many people have been in sororities?
Yeah,
whatever. How many people can relate to that?
I'm always sneaking in.
Halloween was set in a neighborhood,
right? Nowhere to escape because you're at your safe place home.
And the character of Michael Myers was so terrifying, especially as a kid watching it. I was afraid of shadows forever. So I just love how well made that movie is. But if I had to be honest with myself, the film that I would recommend to people wouldn't be Halloween, because modern day audiences might find it cliche or whatever.
Right.
But there's a film that I can go back to and have them watch it, and I think it would blow them away. Is John Carpenter's The Thing.
It's such a great movie. And the practical effects. I mean, I'm always about it.
People ask, what's your favorite film? Yeah. What would you recommend? It could be a completely different story based on, like, me. What's one of the greatest movies of all time? Godfather. Would I recommend that to most audiences? Maybe not. But The Thing, I think, as far as horror movies go, if you've never seen John Carpenter's Thing, that's definitely one that you should watch. It's timeless.
Well, that's Ray's plug for a movie for you to check out. So now, plug your book. Where can the listeners find it?
You can get this book. All the Monsters Are Here. 13 Spooky Tales by this guy, Aaron Ray Ballard. You can get this online in paperback or ebook, wherever books are sold. That means Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads. There's any number of sites you can go to order it. It's not available in any bookstores. They don't carry what do you call independent books or indie books.
Right, but you do have it in digital form and in print form.
Yes.
So some people like both.
Anywhere online that you buy books. And normally the easiest way for me to tell people is Amazon. Okay.
And I'll make sure to put a link in our show notes as well, so that you can go and check out Ray's book.
And might I ask a request?
Yeah.
Is if you do buy my book and you happen to enjoy it, please leave a review.
Absolutely. That's
how we get discovered.
That's right. That's how any of us, and share the links.
Same thing with the podcast. Please.
Thank you.
Please.
Appreciate that. And on that note, that was my conversation with Aaron Ray Ballard, author of All the Monsters Are Here, 13 Spooky Stories. If you're looking for the perfect October read, or just love a good scare, you can find the book wherever books are sold and in the link below. Thanks again to Aaron for joining me and for sharing not just his stories, but also the process behind creating monsters that feel all too real. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who loves a good, spooky story. That was the dogs. Thanks for listening to Jed Talks Live. Until next time, stay curious and maybe leave a light on. We'll see you later.